terrifying.
Yeah.
All of it's terrifying. Anytime you're involved with, you're shooting missiles into towns and blowing things up, blowing up infrastructure, blowing up bridges, and Israel's blowing up Lebanon now.
Yep.
It's like, what the are we doing?
Yeah,
like, how is this still going on? Most people that voted for Trump or wanted Trump to be in office, one of the things that was attractive was this no more wars.
Sure, of course.
And now we're in one of the craziest ones.
Even some of the allies that aren't necessarily so cleanly MAGA or cleanly Republican, like Joe Rogan, for example, has he's showing again, I should say, his opposition to the war with Iran. I just want to play a quick clip.
We're in a worse place now than before this thing started.
Yeah. Look, the Iranian regime's terrible. Like what they do to their protesters.
I'm not
it's
disputing
all
that
evil,
at all. I mean,
most people that voted for Trump or wanted Trump to be in office, one of the things that was attractive was this no more wars.
Sure, of course.
And now we're in one of the craziest ones.
And yet, Trump isn't denouncing Rogan like he has other podcasting critics. Our Aaron Blake wrote on CNN.com today, quote, "While others get the vinegar, Rogan is for some reason getting the sugar." I mean, he was in the Oval Office during the executive order signing today. But bottom line, I just wonder, where do you see someone like Joe Rogan's place in sort of the ecosystem of support for the president and how critical he may be, as opposed to, say, a Megyn Kelly or someone like that?
Well, a lot of Joe Rogan's listeners are people that are not inherently political. A lot of times they go and listen to his podcast for other reasons other than politics. And some of the other folks that have split with the president are much more politically focused. And so President Trump realized that he was able to win in 2024 in part because he was able to get people who aren't necessarily always thinking about politics and maybe listeners to Joe Rogan and feel like because Trump went on Joe Rogan's podcast and because Rogan said positive things about him during the 2024 campaign, that they would go out and vote, in many cases for the first time, for a president and voted for Trump. And so Trump does not want to alienate those voters. He wants them to become part of the MAGA coalition, even though they're not necessarily political. They're not voters that vote every midterm election and maybe not even every presidential election. And so the president does not want to alienate those voters. He feels like he has a pretty strong grip on the MAGA voters, the people that do sometimes listen to a Megyn Kelly or a Tucker Carlson. If they had to choose between Carlson and Kelly or Trump, they're going to go with Trump no matter what. But some of the people that are less political and who may be Joe Rogan's listeners, Trump does not necessarily have that kind of stranglehold on them. And so he is trying to cater to Rogan and trying to make sure that as we get closer to the midterms, that some of those people that came out in 2024 don't check out of the political process and decide that they don't like either party, nobody's making their lives better, and that they're just going to check out and stay home. President Trump and the Republicans need those voters to come out if they're going to have any chance at staving off a Democratic wave in November.
Now we turn to the battle for the souls of MAGA as splits emerge in the president's own support base, with longtime loyalists like former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene leading the U-turn. Just a year ago, she was sporting a baseball cap that read, "Trump was right about everything." Today, not so much, with the president backtracking on his no more wars promise to the people, not to mention the Jesus debate. Marjorie Taylor Greene joined me from Georgia. Welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you for having me on.
You've been very critical of President Trump recently when he, made that very apocalyptic threat to essentially wipe out and a whole civilization will die tonight and will never be brought back. That's what he said about Iran. You responded 25th Amendment. Tell us what you meant.
I was absolutely shocked and horrified that the president, the man that I supported and helped get elected, would call for an entire civilization of people to be murdered. I really think that his mental capacity needs to be examined. His rhetoric has been shocking to many Americans and people around the world. This is a war that many Americans, especially younger generations who I side with most of the time, do not support. We made campaign promises in 2024 to the American people: no more foreign wars, no more foreign regime change, and to put America as our focus. That means the American people and our economy and our future, really. And however, we've seen a drastic change here. I call this war an unprovoked war, and President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu engaged this war against Iran. There's not been a single bomb fall on America. And yet here we are spending nearly $2 billion a day. Yes, I do think that it should be discussed, although it's very unlikely the 25th Amendment will be used.
And are you concerned, like, many people were immediately very offended and concerned, particularly many Christians around the world, when first of all, President Trump essentially attacked the Pope, calling him weak on just about everything, and then somehow presented himself in a Christ-like image. How did you read it?
I read it as blasphemy. That's exactly how I read it. It was President Trump presenting himself to be Jesus, presenting himself to replace God. And that was extremely offensive to Christians and Catholics all over the world. And it is completely wrong. And then even further, he tried to, sweep it away, saying that, he thought he was representing himself as a doctor, which is lying. And he didn't apologize, which he should have apologized. And it's just, it's ridiculous, really, absolutely ridiculous. And so it is blasphemy and it's wrong. And President Trump owes Christians an apology.
播报新闻是我的日常。必须时刻保持妆容和皮肤的最佳状态。当来到人生中最重要的时刻，也是 KS 逆时奇迹帮助我轻松驾驭，闪闪发光。KS 逆时奇迹活肤露全效精华、精华霜，多达5种 EGF 6大冻龄关键成分，保湿效果让我非常满意，小细纹也不再困扰我。我就是我自己的最佳女主角。KS 让我从容自信，光彩动人。我是我人生中的大女主，我的最爱我做主。KS 逆时奇迹系列热卖中，下单请上快点购，透过中天新闻网 App 下单立减50，或输入 CTI 推荐码有额外折扣。母亲节该送什么好礼给妈妈呢？推荐您大小朋友都爱喝的旺仔牛奶、旺旺香蕉牛奶，帮妈妈与家人轻松补充蛋白质，维持好体力。即日起快点购感恩母亲节好康优惠，一箱只要299元，买3箱就免运，一次买4箱更划算。平均一箱只要289元，直接打8折，省最多。全家人都爱喝，活动期间全馆满5200再送520元，赶快把握优惠买起来，囤在家里随时喝。天天补充营养，透过中天新网 App 下单，立刻减50元，或输入 CTI 推荐码有额外折扣。